Be inspired on the first day of the year with the Archbishop of Canterbury's New Year message here on BBC Two in an hour. Now, Mark Chapman has the final score.
Relegation.
He was one of the heroes of the afternoon.
Applause from the away supporters. The latest score is Wimbledon through to the Premier.
John Terry's tears, we all remember. It's two crucial weeks.
Good afternoon, Happy New Year, welcome to Final Score. The second half of last season certainly lived up to expectations, culminating in that dramatic final day and title for Manchester City. So will the rest of this season match that? Garth and Robbie will reveal their New Year resolutions a little bit later. Good luck trying to guess what they are. In the meantime, you're going to have to put up with them talking football for the next hour or so. Let's bring you right up to date with what's been going on in the Premier League today. At Manchester City, 3-0 up on Stoke through Pablo Zabaleta, Edin Dzeko and a Sergio Aguero penalty. Southampton-Arsenal is the evening game. Swansea were utterly dominant early on against Aston Villa, but the away side remain in touch thanks to Andreas Weimann. Spurs are proving that they can cope without Gareth Bale. Dawson and Adebayor have got the goals for Andre Villas-Boas' side after Pavel Pogrebniak's opener. West Brom and Fulham was the early game. Dimitar Berbatov inspired Fulham to a crucial 3 points. West Ham lead Norwich by 2-0 through Mark Noble and Joey O'Brien, but that's only half the story. Controversial game at Upton Park, and it's Wigan 0, Manchester United 3. A Javier Hernandez brace and a goal from Robin van Persie means the leaders are in cruise control, and Will Perry can give us further details.
Yeah, absolutely in control. Wigan 0, Manchester United 3. United dominating proceedings here at the DW. Javier Hernandez with 2 goals and 1 from Robin van Persie, his 18th of the season in all competitions, and the leaders, as I said, complete control against Wigan, who matched their own for large parts of it for the first half an hour of this one. But United as well, so far a clean sheet. There's only been 4 of them for United this season. Sir Alex Ferguson, it looks like a happy new year for him and a happy birthday. He turned 71 yesterday. Danny Welbeck has just come on for Manchester United, as well as Shinji Kagawa just a few moments ago, along with Shinji Kagawa came on along with Chris Smalling for Rio Ferdinand and for Michael Carrick. It's all been too easy for Manchester United this afternoon here in Lancashire. Wigan 0, Manchester United 3. 15
goals for Jordan Rhodes for the season for Blackburn. They're 2-0 up on Nottingham Forest. 2 in the afternoon for Paddy Madden in League One. Yeovil are 3 up on Leyton Orient. Millwall have regained the lead against relegation fight in Bristol City. Millwall 2, Bristol City 1. And Spurs were 2-1 up in the Premier League against Reading. Not anymore though, Nigel Adderley.
It's now 3-1. Clint Dempsey with a deflected shot looping high over the unlucky Adam Federici. So Spurs finally have clear daylight between themselves and Reading after the visitors missed 3 clear-cut chances to equalise in the space of 5 minutes. Pavel Pogrebniak, Jimmy Kebe and Alex Pearce all should have scored. Had they managed to equalise, Spurs would have been kicking themselves. They've dominated this game. They fell behind early on to Pogrebniak, but then recovered to take the lead. 2 goals in quick succession for Michael Dawson and Emmanuel Adebayor, and finally it's 3-1 and Spurs are heading third.
Coyote Odejay's got an equaliser for Steve Evans Rotherham at Rochdale, 1-1 at Spotland. And as you can see in the Championship, the game to be at this afternoon is at the King Power Stadium, unless, of course, you're a Huddersfield fan. Andrew James.
Yes, I feel quite privileged, Mark. I've only been here twice this season. The first time was to see them put 6 past Ipswich a couple of months ago, and now it's 6 of the best again past Huddersfield, although they've got a goal back through Scott Arfield. But the story of the day, really, Chris Wood, the man they signed for £1 million this morning, effectively, on January the 1st from West Bromwich Albion, scored 11 goals for Millwall in the Championship already, and he's got 2 in the first 10 minutes here today to get Leicester on their way. Delat scored a third to make it 3-0 at half-time. 2 from Knockaert put them into a 5-0 lead, and although Arfield got that one back, substitute Martin Waghorn has just put some more icing on Leicester's cake. It's Leicester 6, Huddersfield 1.
OK, thank you, Andrew. Through all the chaos at Ewood Park and at Blackburn, Jordan Rhodes just keeps on scoring, doesn't he, James Mason?
He certainly does. He scored their second, but they've now scored a third. It's Blackburn Rovers 3, Nottingham Forest 0. Colin Kazim Richards probably wrapping up the points for Gary Bowie, who's in charge again today, and he's on his way to his second win. Could his name be in the ring for the vacant managerial position? Shebi Singh, the Blackburn Rovers global advisor, said that a name will be decided before the close of play today. It could be him. They opened the scoring through Ruben Rashina inside the first few minutes of this second half. Jordan Rhodes did what he does best, scoring from close range, and Colin Kazim Richards has made it 3-0 to Blackburn Rovers.
Big game at the bottom of the table in the Championship this afternoon. Peterborough against Barnsley. The home side were a goal up last time with Mark Bishop, but you've seen another goal, Mark.
We certainly have, chappers. It's Peterborough United 1, Barnsley 1. Yes, Barnsley won a contentious goal, a controversial goal. Marlon Harewood came off the substitutes bench. Within 4 minutes he'd scored. It looked as if he was offside. The assistant referee flagged. The referee, David Drysdale, went over to the assistant referee for about 2 minutes, protestations from the Peterborough United players, of course, but in the end the goal has been given. So Barnsley right back in it, not against the run of play, I have to tell you, because Davis and Brian O'Brien have had 2 great chances, as well as Dagnall. Peterborough United 1, Barnsley 1.
Sheffield Wednesday are in that relegation battle as well. They were a goal down to Burnley. Have they got themselves back on level terms, Alan Biggs?
No, Mark. The Burnley lead has been doubled by Ross Wallace from the penalty spot, but the danger was created by Keith Tracy, who got the opening Burnley goal 12 minutes ago with a low shot from 25 yards, the former Sheffield Wednesday loanee, and it was from a Tracy cross. Tracy on a substitute, by the way, late in the first half. It was from his cross. It was handled by Lewis Buxton, who realised immediately what he'd done. No real contention about the penalty, and Wallace didn't stop either to ask any questions. So it's Sheffield Wednesday conceding their first goals in 5 matches now. 2 down to Burnley.
Let's go to Selhurst Park, where Chris Dennis can tell us about that goal there. Sylvain Ebanks-Blake's 10th of the season for Wolves.
Very much against the run of play, but a goal back with 15 minutes to go for Wolves. A free kick on the right-hand side. The ball came out to Ebanks-Blake. He was allowed to swivel on a sixpence. He turned and fired a low shot home. Palace have squandered their lead in the last 5 games. They lead 3-1 here. Hard to see them doing it again. 15 minutes left at Selhurst Park.
Penalty, Villa. Swansea absolutely battered Aston Villa in the first 15-20 minutes this afternoon at the Liberty Stadium. Somehow they managed to go in level, 1-1 at half-time, and now in the second half, Jason Mohammed,
they have a penalty. It's unbelievable. What a story here, Mark. Swansea City absolutely battered Aston Villa in the opening 5 minutes. In fact, they could have been 5-0 up. I'm looking at my notes. I think they could have been 5-0 up within 10 minutes. But somehow they've got themselves back into this game. They've closed Swansea City's midfield down, sorted out their back four. They gave Swansea City far too much space, far too much respect in the opening few minutes. Got a goal back through Andreas Wyman, and now they have a penalty. Christian Benteke, his header was cleared off the line by Nathan Dyer, and then somebody took a tumble. I think it was Andreas Wyman. I've not seen the replay, but somebody's taken a tumble. Mark Halsey has pointed to the spot. It's Christian Benteke. Up he comes, and he puts it to the right-hand side. Oh, Michel Vorm has scored. Christian Benteke scores for Villa, runs to the Villa fans. Aston Villa lead by 2-1. An amazing fight back by Paul Lambert's side.
This is 9th of the season for Christian Benteke, and on the video print, that's Nick Blackman's 13th of the season for Sheffield United, and they're backing it at the keep, mate, at the top of League One. Doncaster 2, Sheffield United 1.
Well, Jason wasn't exaggerating there. In the first 10 minutes of that game, Swansea could have been 3, 4, 5 up. Fair credit to the young boys at Aston Villa. I think playing away from home today probably suited them after, going down 3-0, at home to Wigan. And they've come back and they've been superb. Wyman's been great. They've shown courage on the ball. They defended well. What a win this would be for Aston Villa today. What a win.
Another tremendous performance. They've had some horror shows. And to be fair to Mark Halsey, he was courageous and he was right with the penalty. Right, yeah. Andreas Wyman has been outstanding. Yeah. And Benteke has been a great support act today. It's been the other way around for many times. But those two have been fantastic. It's been a great show for Villa.
And such is the topsy-turvy nature of this Premier League and unpredictability that it would mean that Wigan losing to Manchester United would drop down to 17th, and Aston Villa would climb up to 15th. As things stand, Newcastle will be sandwiched in between them. They play tomorrow night against Everton. Manchester United winning 3-0 at Wigan. Same scoreline for Manchester City at home to Stoke. Damian Johnson.
That's right, tap-ins from Pablo Zabaleta, Edin Dzeko, and a hotly and rightly disputed penalty from Sergio Aguero should see the champions safely past Stoke City. Manchester City laboured a bit in the first half before Zabaleta's breakthrough. Dzeko tapped in a second after the break. Then the controversy, Silva tripped by Nzonzi clearly, but also clearly outside the penalty area. No matter, Aguero dispatched his 10th of the season from the spot. Stoke, unbeaten in 10 before today, have shown little going forward. Manchester City have replaced Aguero now with Tevez. They lead 3-0.
And that's not the only place there's been contentious penalty decisions in the Premier League this afternoon, is it, Mark Webber?
No, indeed. West Ham 2, Norwich 0. Now, Norwich boss Chris Hughton decided to keep referee Mark Clattenburg a bit of company in the tunnel at half-time. Plenty to talk about between them. Chris Hughton not really thinking that the West Ham penalty, which give them the lead, was a bit soft, and thinking that they shouldn't have got it. Did West Ham's Winston Reid handle in his own area? That was another question to discuss. The ref didn't think so. Norwich's luck didn't really improve in the second half either. Denied a Stonewall penalty there. Now, West Ham kept calm and carried on. They scored. Joey O'Brien got the second. Vaz Tays hit the post. Carlton Cole's had a couple of chances as well. I tell you what, Chris Hughton's post-match interview will be very, very interesting indeed. 2-0.
Certainly will. If you weren't watching us on the BBC HD channel or on the BBC Sport website, then you will have missed one of those contentious penalty decisions. Actually rendered Garth speechless, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And it was the tackle on the Norwich player, and it was Stonewall. Okay. I mean, Mark Clattenburg, I've got a lot of time for Mark, particularly the way he handled the Chelsea debacle, but I think today...
He's not had one of his best games today.
He's not had one of his best games, and the penalty that he does give in the opening minutes of this fixture is, for me, completely unnecessary and unwarranted. Two players fighting for the same ball, it breaks loose, and no one would have created any trouble at all if he'd have just played on.
And you don't. I mean, I don't know what he's like behind closed doors in the dressing room, but publicly, you never see Chris Hughton lose his temper. He stays very calm on that bench, but not this afternoon.
There's been a goal first, though, Chapman.
All right, OK.
At Wigan.
Thanks for answering that, Robbie. Let's go to Wigan, shall we, Will Perry?
It's good to see Robbie's on the ball. Wigan 0, Manchester United 4 now. A second goal for Robin Van Persie. Wigan gave the ball away on the edge of the box. Figueroa gave it to Welbeck. Welbeck picked out Van Persie, edge of the 6-yard box. And the simple finish again for Robin Van Persie. Tucks it into the bottom right-hand corner. It's Manchester United 0. It's Wigan 0, Manchester United 4.
That's karma, if ever there was one, for siding with Savage. Let me tell you, 50 goals for Manchester United in 16 games against Wigan. What does that work out at per game, Robbie?
It works out 3 a game, Neil.
Yeah.
See? Quick, that wasn't it?
Oh,
anyway,
going
back to your point on Chris Hughton, calm, calculated man, and the decisions have definitely gone against him today. The penalty, which should have been given for Harry Kane going through, with Tompkins brought him down, should be a red card, Stonewall penalty, wasn't given. The penalty which West Ham got in the first few minutes was a 50-50. Yes, he was getting his shirt pulled. I think it was Winston Reid. But it was.
They're both pushing, both challenging for the ball.
I think it's a poor game.
It's been a poor game. But Chris Hughton, it's worth watching a match tonight when you actually see Chris Hughton wait for the referee to come off the pitch, and you see him wagging his finger and telling Mark Clattenburg in no uncertain terms what he thinks of his decisions.
Colchester will now have lost 7 on the bounce. Nicky Adams' 9th of the season means Crawley have got their first home win in 6. Crawley Town 3, Colchester 0. And this is going to be a big goal at the bottom of the Championship. Peterborough and Barnsley were all square last time we were with Mark Bishop.
Absolutely massive goal. This Chappers, Peterborough United 2, Barnsley 1. It's Tommy Rowe, the Peterborough captain, skipping his way into the box, rounded Chris Dagnall and then Stephen Dawson, planting the ball, bottom right-hand corner. Brilliant goal. Rough justice on Barnsley. Bottom of the table, Barnsley, remember, without a manager, David Flitcroft in as temporary boss at the moment, to see Marlon Harewood score a controversial goal to bring it back to 1-1. But it's Peterborough now who edge in front again, and they lead by 2 goals to 1.
5 for the season for Matty Blair now, and it's York 3, Burton Albion 0, and Burton continue this run of never having won their first Football League fixture of a new year. York 3, Burton Albion 0, back to the bottom of the Championship. Bristol City losing at Millwall, Tony Lockwood.
Yes, they look to be on the comeback trail after a vastly improved second-half performance, but they trail again by 2-1. Millwall with a deserved advantage through Danny Ngesson's low left-foot strike, cancelled out by John Stead. City so much better since the restart, a double substitution, but Adam Smith following Millwall back in front against the run of play, and that's the way it stays with a couple of minutes left. Millwall 2, Bristol City 1.
Exeter are down to 10 men. Their top scorer, Jamie Curitan, sent off at Adams Park this afternoon, but they lead Wycombe by 1-0 thanks to Courtney Howes putting through his own net. And we're going back to Upton Park. Norwich aren't out of this, Mark Webber.
No, they're not. The captain stepped up and he's given them a hope here, 2-1. But I say that now, West Ham are on the charge, and we've got Mager trying to get the ball in the box, but it's now cleared away. But yes, Russell Martin in the box, turned, swiveled it around the West Ham player, and Pasi Jaskalainen, 2-1.
OK, let's go into the Championship again now. Find out how the leaders are doing at Birmingham. Steve Lee.
Yes, they're still winning. It's Birmingham 0, Cardiff 1. A goal just before half-time from Joe Mason after Conway's long-range shot was fumbled by the highly rated Birmingham keeper Jack Butland. And that's the goal that's divided these two sides. Birmingham are patched up side today with 6 teenagers and 2 teenage midfielders playing up front. They've mustered really no challenge to the Cardiff defence. Cardiff could have had a second through Conley. That was saved by Butland. It's still 1-0.
Billy Painter scored for Doncaster for the penalty spot. He's now been sent off with 3 minutes to go in that game between Doncaster and Sheffield United. Doncaster leading 2-1. Last we heard, and Rotherham have got a late goal at Spotland. They've come from behind. It's Rochdale 1, Rotherham 2. Cardiff's lead at the top of the Championship could be 7 points this evening because Hull are not winning at Blackpool, Richard Askin.
Yes, you're right, Mark. A much better second half, though, after a dire first 45. Frustrating for the skillful players on show, particularly Tom Ince, who just hasn't been able to free himself from his markers at all. He takes a corner, though, for Blackpool that's well defended by Hull. Hull have pushed on this half. They could have scored through Jay Simpson and Robbie Brady, and in particular Corey Evans. A great chance a few minutes ago. The brother of Manchester United's Johnny. He's had an excellent game, the young Northern Irishman. He could have won the match, though, but he blasted over from 10 yards, and it remains 0-0.
Walsall have never beaten Stephen.
Well-bet cross. Once United got going, Wigan found them hard to stop. The wheels came off here for Sir Alex Ferguson last season. The wheels are well and truly on and rolling at pace towards title number 20 in 2013. Hernandez and Van Persie at the double. The lead still 7 points. Wigan 0, Manchester United 4.
That was the point, wasn't it, really, that Will said there? Once United got going, it was very comfortable.
Absolutely. It was the Hernandez Van Persie roadshow today. With nice support acts from Ashley Young and Valencia. I mean, they looked imperious at times, I thought, United.
And with Van Persie getting the goals again, Roberto Mancini saying he could be the difference. Aguero's gone off with a hamstring strain. Van Persie. That's why United will win the league for me, because of that man, Van Persie.
Big comeback for Sheffield United in League One this afternoon. They were 2 down. Doncaster down to 10 men. Billy Painter sent off. And Dave Kitson has scored his 5th of the season. Doncaster 2, Sheffield United 2. You may have gathered that by the rather guttural noises coming from my right, that there has been a late goal in one of the games. It's come at Swansea. Jason Mohammed.
A very late goal, Mark, and it's heartbreak for Aston Villa. There are 4 or 5 Aston Villa players who are on their backs in the penalty box. It's Danny Graham. The ball was bobbling around. Villa just did not deal with it. They did not clear the ball, and there was Danny Graham to fire home an equaliser. Hard on Villa, but probably just about what Swansea City deserve. Swansea City 2, Villa 2.
Quickly, Robbie.
Villa feels so sorry for them. They defended so well second half.
All right, as you can see, the final whistle has gone at the Etihad Stadium. 3 points for Manchester City. Damien Johnson.
Yeah, pretty regulation victory for the champions in the end. Pablo Zabaleta tapped them in front at the end of a frustrating first half in which Aguero had hit the post. Dzeko scored in rather similar fashion when Begovic only parried Aguero's toe poke. Controversy followed and Zonzi tripped Silva outside the box, but referee Michael Oliver pointed to the spot. Aguero dispatched the penalty, his 10th goal of the season, and just reward for another lively performance. Stoke, who were unbeaten in 10 before today, showed all the usual resolve, frustrating Manchester City before the goals came. Glenn Whelan's effort was tipped onto the post by Joe Hart. That was the nearest they came to scoring. City 3-0.
Swansea have just come close to scoring a third at the Liberty Stadium, but Villa fans, don't worry, it is still 2-2. Final whistle has gone at White Hart Lane. Nigel Adderley, Spurs a third.
They are 7 wins from 9, and they're into the top 3 before Chelsea play tomorrow. But the scoreline doesn't really tell the whole story. Reading scored with their only meaningful effort in the opening 70 minutes when Pavel Pogrebniak headed in after Ian Hark's free kick had come back off the bar. And Michael Dawson quickly glanced in the equaliser, and Emmanuel Adebayor's excellent header from Aaron Lennon's equally fine cross was well overdue early in the second half. Spurs then spurned numerous chances and were almost caught out when Pogrebniak, Jimmy Kebe and Alex Pearce all missed great chances to equalise for Reading before Clint Dempsey's late deflected looper made it safe.
What a game at the Liberty Stadium. It's all over and it's finished all square between Michael Laudrup and Paul Lambert's sides. Jason Mohammed.
An unbelievable 90 minutes or 95 minutes, and I just wonder whether manager Paul Lambert will talk to Mark Halsey as he walks on the pitch right now to ask him where he got those 5 minutes from. Aston Villa in the second half, if they can show, Mark, if they can bottle the fighting spirit and determination they've shown in this second half, they will surely be okay. Christian Benteke and Andreas Weimann getting the goals, one from the penalty spot. I felt that Swansea City should have had a penalty midway through the second half when Joe Bennett appeared to handle. For me, it looked like it was inside the box. Michu in the opening 5 minutes hit the post twice. Wayne Routledge missed a great chance, but Danny Graham scored a dramatic equaliser in injury time, leaving Villa flat on their backs, devastated. However, a big point. Swansea City 2, Aston Villa 2.
If AFC Wimbledon had won at Torquay, they'd be off the bottom of League 2. However, Rene Howe's 11th of the season has just pulled them back 2-2. Their final whistle has gone at Upton Park. There are a lot of very unhappy Norwich faces there, and with good reason, Mark Webber.
Indeed, West Ham United 2, Norwich City 1. Ironically, Mark Clattenburg, in a way, is probably the most popular person on the pitch this afternoon. That's because most Norwich players and the manager, Chris Hughton, made a beeline for him on 2 occasions after a number of decisions today. 2 penalty decisions didn't really go their own way, and they should have. Mark Noble dispatched the first decision to give West Ham a 1-0 lead, tugging of shirts, which maybe shouldn't have been a penalty. At the other end, Harry Kane was brought down in the area in the second half, but Clattenburg didn't think that warranted a spot kick. West Ham stayed calm and got on with the game. They scored their second by Joey O'Brien, whilst Norwich's Alex Tete was on the floor. That didn't really help Canary-Clattenburg relations. Neither did Winston Reid's handball in the first half, which wasn't spotted. Don't think there's a Christmas card on the way yet, Mr. Clattenburg. West Ham 2, Norwich 1.
And you can see Ryan Bennett there, can't you, trying to explain to Mark Clattenburg why it shouldn't have been a penalty given against him. There's been a late goal, as you can see, on the video printer at Pride Park, but it's kind of irrelevant, Ivan Gaskell.
Yes, it is. It's all over. A late goal for Djukovic, but it didn't make any difference to the way the outcome went. There's no doubt that more than a few Middlesbrough supporters will be feeling a little fragile today, but none more than the fragile Middlesbrough defence. I think Derby found it all too easy to slice through it, albeit all 3 goals very well taken by Jacobs, Hendrick and in the second half Connor Salmon. In contrast, Borough did struggle to muster any meaningful opportunities, though late on, 2 minutes into added time, Djukovic turned in what proved a consolation. But Nigel Clough, celebrating his 4th year in charge at Derby this week, can do so in some style tonight.
AFC Wimbledon have just scored again. Stacey Long with a penalty. That's his 3rd of the season. So it's Torquay 2, AFC Wimbledon 3. They'll be level on points with Bristol Rovers at the bottom of League 2. Let's go into the Championship. Cardiff have extended their lead at the top, Steve Lee.
Yes, it's finished here. Birmingham 0, Cardiff 1. In the end, winning ugly was enough to give leaders Cardiff their 4th win on the bounce in the Championship. A mistake from Birmingham's highly rated keeper Jack Butland handed the points to Malky Mackay's side. Craig Conway's long-range effort fumbled inexplicably by Butland, and there was Joe Mason to tap in. 2,500 Cardiff fans, as you can hear, really enjoying that one. Bit harsh on Birmingham. They were patched up with 6 teenagers and 2 midfielders leading the attack because there were no fit strikers, but they looked too lightweight really to trouble Cardiff. Birmingham 0, Cardiff 1.
Malky Mackay's men 7 points clear at the top this evening because Hull could only draw at Blackpool. This was watched by Richard Askham.
Yes, a game of few chances, but one Hull will feel they should have won, with Steve Bruce resorting to the more muscular threat of Nick Proshowitz and Jay Simpson after the break. It was the visitors who created the better opportunities. Simpson himself, Robbie Brady, and in particular Corey Evans all could have scored, the Northern Irishman blasting over from just 10 yards. Blackpool couldn't find any fluency. If this was Tom Ince's last game in a tangerine shirt, it was far from his best. Frustrating for him and the home crowd, but a point that keeps Hull's excellent run going.
And Crystal Palace will be up to third this evening, and there's more pressure on the Wolves manager, Chris Dennis.
Yes, there is. Palace lead Wolves by 3-1. A minute of stoppage time remaining. Palace then back to winning ways, it seems, and back to near their fluent best after that pre-Christmas wobble. 2 goals from Andre Moritz, both free kicks, both sumptuous, either side of a good old-fashioned toe poke from Yannick Bolasie, put them in complete control. Ebanks Blake pulled one back for Wolves late on, but it looks like a third straight defeat for them to complete a miserable Christmas, and the pressure increases on their manager. Palace heading third, as you say. Seconds to go. Palace 3, Wolves 1.
Not miserable at all for Peterborough this festive period. They are out of the bottom 3 after beating Barnsley. Mark Bishop.
Big win this, Chappers. Peterborough United 2, Barnsley 1. Michael Boswick with the first goal, an absolute snorter of a free kick from the edge of the penalty area. Or then it was Barnsley get right back into this game. Davy Flickcroft in temporary charge of the Tykes, doing a good job as Davis and Dagnall went very close. And then controversy. Marlon Hare were getting the goal that got Barnsley back on equal terms. It was disallowed, it seemed, for offside, but the referee, David Drysdale, in the end giving the goal. And then Peterborough piling on the pressure. In the end, Tommy Rowe squeezing the ball in past the goalkeeper, Luke Steele. Big win this for the Posh. They've won by 2-1.
At Ewood Park this afternoon, comfortable win for Blackburn against Nottingham Forest. Gary Bowyer should be given this job, shouldn't he, James Mason?
You'd think so. He's certainly going to give himself a good chance, isn't he? 2 wins in 2, 6 goals scored. Whoever does take over, though, Mark, there can be no doubt the squad has quality. They've beaten Nottingham Forest 3-0 today. Ruben Rashina being the pick of the bunch, opening the scoring early in the second half with a fine solo goal before Jordan Rhodes scored from close range and Colin Kazim Richards fired in the third. Forest simply weren't at the races, and this will prove a tough result for their boss Alex McLeish to swallow. As for Rovers, though, their global advisor Shebi Singh has said the new manager is imminent. He may be unveiled before tonight. The truth is, none of us really know. Gary Bowyer's got a great chance. It's Blackburn Rovers 3, Nottingham Forest 0.
Thank you very much, James. You can have your say on the day's football with myself and Robbie. 6:06 on air tonight at 7:30 on 5 Live after full commentary of Southampton against Arsenal, which you'll be able to listen to from 5:30. In a moment, we'll have all the reaction to today's games from managers and players after a full check on the day's results with Mike West.
And beginning with the Barclays Premier League, Manchester City 3, Stoke City 0. Southampton against Arsenal, an evening kick-off at 5:30. Swansea City 2, Aston Villa 2. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Reading 1. West Bromwich Albion 1, Fulham 2. West Ham United 2, Norwich City 1. And Wigan Athletic 0, Manchester United 4. On to the Empire Championship, Birmingham City 0, Cardiff City 1. Blackburn Rovers 3, Nottingham Forest 0. Blackpool 0, Hull City 0. Crystal Palace 3, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. Derby County 3, Middlesbrough 1. Ipswich Town 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 3. Leeds United 1, Bolton Wanderers 0. Leicester City 6, Huddersfield Town 1. Millwall 2, Bristol City 1. Peterborough United 2, Barnsley 1. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Burnley 2. And Watford 3, Charlton Athletic 4. The Empire League 1, Brentford 0, AFC Bournemouth 0. Bury 0, Tranmere Rovers 1. Coventry City 0, Shrewsbury Town 1. Crawley Town 3, Colchester United 0. Crewe Alexandra 1, Carlisle United 0. Doncaster Rovers 2, Sheffield United 2. Hartlepool United 0, Preston North End 1. Notts County 1, Milton Keynes Dons 2. Scunthorpe United 2, Oldham Athletic 2. Swindon Town 5, Portsmouth 0. Walsall 1, Stevenage 0. And Yeovil Town 3, Leyton Orient 0. The Empire League 2, Accrington Stanley 1, Chesterfield 0. Barnet 0, Aldershot Town 1. Bristol Rovers 2, Plymouth Argyle 1. Morecambe 0, Bradford City 0. Northampton Town 3, Dagenham and Redbridge 1. Oxford United 1, Cheltenham Town 0. Port Vale 0, Fleetwood Town 2. Rochdale 1, Rotherham United 2. Southend United 0, Gillingham 1. Torquay United 2, AFC Wimbledon 3. Wycombe Wanderers 0, Exeter City 1. And York City 3, Burton Albion 0. On to the Blue Square Bet Premier, AFC Telford United 0, Wrexham 2. Alfreton Town 0, Mansfield Town 3. Cambridge United 1, Braintree Town 0. Ebbsfleet United 2, Dartford 2. Gateshead 0, Barrow 1. Grimsby Town 1, Lincoln City 1. Hyde 0, Stockport County 1. Kidderminster 0, Hereford United 1. Macclesfield Town 2, Southport 2. Newport County 0, Forest Green Rovers 5. And Woking 3, Luton Town 1. The Corvid Sports Welsh Premier, the game between Bala Town and the New Saints, was postponed. Gap Connors Quay 4, Airbus UK Broughton 1. Newtown 3, Aberystwyth Town 1. Port Talbot Town against Avon Lido, match postponed. And Prestatyn Town 4, Bangor City 1 is a latest score. Lastly, the Danske Bank Irish Premiership, Coleraine 1, Glentoran 1. Crusaders 1, Portadown 0. Donegal Celtic 1, Glenavon 0. Dungannon Swifts against Ballymena United, match postponed. Linfield 3, Cliftonville 1. And finally, Lisbon Distillery 0, Ballina Mallard 2.
Let's take a look at the tables then. The gap between the two Manchester clubs stays at 7 points after both won this afternoon. Spurs go above Chelsea, but Rafa Benitez's men can regain third spot with victory over QPR tomorrow night. Arsenal take on Southampton in the tea time game. At the bottom, Reading's mini revival is over after defeat to Spurs. QPR will go level with them if they beat Chelsea tomorrow. Villa suffered late heartbreak at Swansea, but their point does see them go ahead of Wigan. Into the Championship, and Cardiff's win at Birmingham sees them extend their lead at the top to 7 points after Hull could only draw with Blackpool. Palace go third after beating Wolves. Peterborough are out of the relegation zone thanks to victory over bottom of the table Barnsley. Sheffield Wednesday slip into the bottom three after suffering a first defeat in 5 against Burnley. Tranmere have increased their lead at the top of League One with victory over Bury. Sheffield United hang on to second after fighting back to draw with Doncaster. Swindon's second consecutive 5-0 win sees them climb a place to 5th. It's as you were in the relegation zone, where Scunthorpe were the only side to pick up a point. Hartlepool remain in desperate trouble after suffering a 17th defeat of the season. Gillingham's excellent win over Southend, coupled with Port Vale's shock defeat at home to Fleetwood, means those two swap places at the top. Fleetwood now into the playoff places, and Rotherham into third thanks to 2 late goals at Rochdale and Cheltenham's defeat at Oxford. Bristol Rovers picked up a crucial victory over Plymouth at the bottom, who subsequently parted company with their manager Carl Fletcher. Bottom side AFC Wimbledon also won thanks to a dramatic injury time goal, and they're now a point behind Barnet, who were beaten at home by relegation rivals Aldershot, who go above them in the table. And Grimsby stay top of the Blue Square Bet Premier despite only managing a draw with Lincoln, but Wrexham go second thanks to a win over Telford, and Newport's defeat by Forest Green Rovers. Barrow stay bottom despite beating Gateshead, and Stockport's win at Hyde sees them move out of the drop zone and up 17. We are on air until 5:25 tonight on BBC Two, so we've got plenty of time to bring you reaction from all today's matches in the top flight. We're going to start at the DW Stadium. Steve Wilson commentating on this game for Match of the Day. And Steve, it's fair to say it was a Van Persie Hernandez show for Manchester United.
Yeah, Mark, it was every bit as comfortable as the scoreline would suggest, in all honesty. 4-0. He played 4-4-2, Sir Alex Ferguson, and the two strikers scored 2 each. So from that point of view, things couldn't have been much better. I thought United were a little bit sluggish to start off with. Wigan started quite brightly, lifted, of course, by the win at Villa in their last match. And for half an hour or so, you thought, well, there's not a lot in this, not many chances. United not really in their stride. Wigan playing quite well. You never know what might happen. And then as United do so well, they just stepped it up. They had 3 or 4 minutes, forced 3-4 corners around a half-hour mark. And then Hernandez put them 1-0 up. And you thought, well, you know, let's see how Wigan can respond to that. And then Van Persie popped up with a brilliant second goal just before half-time. And then, to be honest, Chappers, obviously at 2-0 at half-time, you're really thinking it's a question of how many more. And there were 2 more, another one for Hernandez after about an hour, and Van Persie gifted one by Beausejour right at the end. They both might have had hat-tricks, to be honest, Chappers. The only thing you'd say, which Wigan will probably have a little complaint about, is that late on in the game it wouldn't have affected the result, but I thought Chris Smalling was fortunate to only get a yellow card when he fouled Aruna Kone. Kone would have been through on goal. 2 other United defenders retreating. I don't think either of them would have caught him, and Smalling perhaps a little bit fortunate not to have got a red card. But United won by 4, and you know, you could have picked a number, in all honesty, Mark. They were much, much better than Wigan.
Steve, thank you very much. Steve Wilson at the DW Stadium. Let's get some reaction from the Etihad Stadium, shall we? Manchester City beat Stoke by 3-0. Here's Roberto Mancini with Damien Johnson.
Roberto, well done. What is your assessment of that victory?
I think that we played very well, like we played against Norwich or against Sunderland. But sometimes it's not enough to play very well. It's important to score.
Before the goal came, it was quite frustrating for you.
Hey, but when you have always the ball, you have a chance and you don't score, sometimes you can be frustrated. I think that today we play really, really well.
Did the goal come at a good time, just before half-time?
I think that the first half we decided to score 2 or 3 goals, but also because it was difficult, because Stoke was the best defence, is the best defence in Premier League, and it was difficult to score to Stoke, but I think that we did a really good performance.
Did you get lucky with the penalty decision? It looked pretty clearly to be outside the area, the foul by Nzonzi.
I don't know, but I think that we had other chance to score other goals.
How important was it today to get a clean sheet after losing goals recently?
Yeah, it's very important to do a clean sheet, because if we start to score and don't concede goal, I think that we can have a chance to recover this point.
We saw Aguero go off. I think he's got a slight injury. Is it serious?
No, I don't think that it's serious. It's hamstring, sure, but maybe in 10 days he can recover.
You lose the Toure brothers now to the African nations. That's their last league game for a while. How big a blow, how big a problem will that be?
No, this is a big problem, because we lose Yaya, Kolo and also Abdul, 3 players. This could be a big problem.
Saw a nice tweet go through on the screen there, didn't you? It said the last time those 3 players scored in the same game for Manchester City in that order was against QPR on the final day of last season. Let's talk to Guy Mowbray, who was doing this game for Match of the Day. It was 3, it could have been 5 or 6, couldn't it, Guy?
Well, you've just reminded me there, chappers. I was here for that Queen's Park Rangers game. Couldn't have been in starker contrast. That was exciting, had everything. This was actually a little bit tedious, to be honest, because it was just so comfortable for Manchester City. It sounds like I've seen a similar game to Steve at the DW Stadium, to be honest. It was just a question of how many. I was very disappointed with Stoke in the way that 1-0 down, they didn't really come out and offer anything in the second half. And the third goal, the penalty, as was pointed out by Damien interviewing Roberto Mancini, it was outside the box, and I think Stoke had the stuffing knocked out of them that much. They didn't even bother to question it. I know we don't like to see dissent, but they didn't even bother. They just walked away. They were resigned to their fate. And City were patient. They passed it around nicely. Aguero was impressive. Best player on the pitch was Gael Clichy, left back. Fantastic going forward, fantastic in defence.
It was routine, and the chase goes on. This will go some way, I think, right to the end.
Thank you very much, Gallagher Mowbray at the Etihad Stadium. It was very comfortable for them, Garth, wasn't it, this afternoon? Both Manchester clubs.
It was. I think what Mancini's going to be most concerned about is the fact he doesn't just lose Yaya Toure and Kolo Toure for the African nations, he loses Aguero. And he tried to play it down there, but Robbie called it straight away. It was a hamstring. You can't be sure how long those take. He says 10 days. He's picked that number out of the air. It could be 3 weeks. 4 weeks, you don't know. So he's an important feature for them because, as we said earlier, he's the one player that's more adaptable than all the strikers. He can play with any of the three. The others, it's much more difficult. And with Razak gone as well, who was on the bench today, he's lost 4 players in a matter of, 24 hours?
It's interesting, isn't it, really? Because Manchester United, Alex Ferguson has used the size of his squad over Christmas to rotate. And we talked about it earlier, about the freshness that they may have coming into March and April and May. But for a club who have so much money, do you think their squad will look slightly threadbare in January if he doesn't bring players in, Mancini?
Well, if Aguero's out, Tevez doesn't score many goals. Who knows what's going to happen with Balotelli? Jekyll's now a big chance for him. He's got to start in place regularly. He's done it in the last 2 games. Yaya Toure is a huge miss, and if Aguero's out for 3 or 4 weeks, I know Roberto said 10 days, but hamstrings could be 4 weeks.
Now,
they need to buy for me.
Sorry, Robbie, but there will be some Man City fans saying, "Well, he went last time. We survived without him." I'm not saying he can't be done, but there's no doubt away that they're going to miss him.
Yeah, it makes life harder,
Absolutely.
not easy.
But if they do buy Chappers, they'll have to buy better quality than they bought in the summer.
Gary Lineker and the team will bring you all today's action during Match of the Day tonight. BBC One and BBC One HD at 10:25. And there's a bonus Match of the Day tomorrow night at 11:05 featuring the 3 games that are taking place. Then Chelsea against QPR, Liverpool versus Sunderland and Everton's trip to Newcastle. Let's get more reaction, shall we? We'll go to White Hart Lane. Spurs are third after beating Reading, and Andre Villas-Boas has been talking to Nigel Adderley.
I suppose the only thing you may be concerned about was you didn't win by more.
No, it was a difficult game, because in the beginning when we suffer, you always give them a little bit more hope. They played a magnificent game against City, and they were not going to be easy to beat. And then after scoring makes it even more difficult. So I think we did well. To close the festive period with 4 fixtures with 10 points is massive for us. It gave us an improvement in the table, in the distance for the others, and we'll hopefully continue on this form to put ourselves where we want to be.
And many Spurs fans would be concerned about how you play without Gareth Bale, but Aaron Lennon really stepped up today.
Yeah, he's such a magnificent player, and sometimes he's a little bit on the shadow. Doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. I think his form this season, even himself recognizes as extraordinary. So, it deserves credit. I think he's been magnificent for us, assisting, creating goals. Scoring goals like last week, and he's such a good player.
Andre Villas-Boas talking to Nigel Adderley. They're talking about Aaron Lennon's influence on the game. Were you impressed with him today, Motti?
Yes, I must say, I thought, as Villas-Boas said there, in a sense, he rose to the occasion, partly because Bale wasn't there. I've got to say, Tottenham played some smashing football today, Mark. A lot of it was in the centre of the field, up to the edge of the area. It didn't always have the penetration perhaps it should have done, and it was only really when Reading had 2 very near misses to getting it back to 2-2 in the second half that Tottenham really, with a deflected goal by Dempsey, made this game safe. One thing I would like to say about Spurs, and I don't know whether Garth would back me up on this, their squad is beginning to look stronger and stronger, Mark. We had players on the bench today, the Huddlestons, Scott Parker came on, you've got Livermore there, you've got Asu Akoto and Kabul still coming back from injury. Bale, of course, didn't play today. And you look down the list now and you think Tottenham have got the wherewithal to stay certainly in the top 4, maybe in the top 3, I don't know. But I think that's one of the significant things about the way their season is developing. You're going to ask me about Reading and their chances of survival. Well, the one thing about Reading is they will fight for everything. I mean, they kept their heads up today. They were resilient for as long as they could possibly be. Jimmy Kebe missed a great chance to make it 2-2, by the way. But having said that, I think they're going to have to battle all the way to the end if they're going to stay up.
That was my second question, Motty. So I have nothing else to say to you. So thank you very much. Happy New Year. See you soon. Bye-bye to Motty.
I do agree with him,
don't you?
I do agree with him. I think he's spot on. And I think for the first time this season, I think Spurs have got injuries coming back. A little bit like Manchester United. They're timing their running quite nicely. And I think the manager will be looking forward to players coming back, bolstering his squad. And there have been times when Spurs have played teams like Reading and have really struggled and not faltered. And Lennon is coming of age. I mean, he really has played well this season. And the fact he stepped up to the plate today, for me, is an indication of how well he's played throughout this festive period.
I think the big thing for Lennon was he chose the right ball. When he got to the byline, he chipped it up to the back post. Great header from Adebayor, but the criticism you have against Lennon in times is final ball. Today, he chose the right option. I think Garth said Les Ferdinand's been working with him.
He said to me many times that they've worked with him and worked with him. And Les has been a real fan of his and worked with his particular throughout the week over some months. It's not just happened over a few days, and it's paying off.
Reading stay next to bottom after that defeat at White Hart Lane. We can go to Wigan now. Manchester United remains 7 points clear at the top after a 4-0 win at the DW Stadium. Here's Alex Ferguson with Will Perry.
Sir Alex, Happy New Year. A really promising start to 2013 for you.
Well, it's a difficult team to play against, particularly on their own ground, and so 4-0's quite an emphatic result for us, and I thought at times they played really, really well.
There was a period, wasn't there, in the first half, towards the end of the first half, 10 or 15 minutes, that proved clinical, really. The 2 goals came there and you applied the pressure there on in.
Yeah, once we got the first goal, actually the game started very slowly, but once we got our momentum going, we got quite a few corner kicks, and eventually we got the first goal. I thought the good part for us, we chased the second one right away, and it's a good score into kind of half-time, then you can assess where we have to go from there. But it's a good performance, and they've all worked really hard. And maybe we freshen up the team quite well. I think we're making the right decisions in that way, because you can't play the same team every week.
Van Persie and Hernandez at the double. How pleasing is it, firstly, to have Hernandez in form like that?
Well, the boys are goal scorers, no question about that. He's a penalty box player. He's none better than him. But Van Persie's ability to play and score goals, like the first goal he scored today, was absolutely magnificent. And it's a good partnership.
Interesting game at the Liberty Stadium this afternoon. Aston Villa could have been 5 down inside 15 minutes, and yet with 90 minutes on the clock, they were 2-1 up at Swansea. But a late Danny Graham equaliser meant that the points were shared, and Paul Lambert has been talking to John Roeder.
Well, Paul, that's an excellent point considering the last 3 results, but really it should have been all 3, shouldn't it?
Yeah, because at 30 seconds to go, you really expect to see it through, and I was delighted with the response in the second half, and the first half Swansea were right on top of us, and we weathered the storm and got a really good goal ourselves, but second half I thought we were very good.
It's almost an old cliche, isn't it, to score just before the break is psychologically so important. It must have given your team a huge lift to equalise when they did.
No, it did. It was a terrific finish from Andy, and as I said, I thought the second half we looked threatening, especially on the counter-attack. We looked very good, and as I said, there's a lot of injuries at the football club as well, which is, you've got to give the lads credit for what they're doing, but it's another big point for us.
It is a big point for them, isn't it, given what's happened to them over Christmas?
Yeah, I thought the second half display was terrific. Young boys, up against it in that first half. They got the goal just before half-time, which gave them a boost, but Swansea could have been 4 or 5 up. But the Benteke, Weimum was absolutely terrific. And even for the goal, which Graham got in the last minute, they were throwing their bodies on the line. They were fighting for the cause, and that was a positive sign for Aston Villa today.
There was a little bit of a repetition of the game at Anfield, which they won, in that Liverpool created a lot of chances in the first 20 minutes of that game, couldn't take them, and Villa managed to capitalise and go on and win there.
Absolutely. I think it's a real case of Aston Villa where they've got a lot of young players, a lot's been asked of them, a lot of them are playing regular Premier League football for the first time in their young careers. I think it's been a little bit too much for them. All credit to Lambert, all credit to those boys, but what they did at Liverpool was get that final block in. Today on Match of the Day, you'll see Graham has a shot, and someone races and gets the first block. It comes back, and they just can't get to the second block. I felt desperately sorry for them.
10:25, BBC One and BBC One HD for Match of the Day. In the early game in the Premier League, finished West Brom 1, Fulham 2. We can hear from both managers now, starting with Martin Yole.
Martin, well done. How much of a boost is that?
Great boost, you know, especially after the last game against Swansea. We probably deserved the points. They had the points on the break, and it was very disappointing. You know, the game before against Southampton, of course, we had a draw. Just before the end, we gave away that penalty kick. We didn't do great away from home, so to win against the West Brom side who's flying, you know, is a great start for the new year.
We have to be reasonably satisfied with the work we've done so far in the season. It's important that we don't switch off and we don't rest on our laurels, and we keep pushing ourselves. We spoke about that a little bit at the end of the game, and I think you'll see in the coming weeks that we're not a team and we're not a group that's going to sit back and let the season fizzle out. We want to try and attack the rest of the season.
Very important to get a win. We haven't had any much wins recent time, but it's good to get a win and good to start the year like this.
And a great way to start the game with Dimitar scoring in the first half. Did you feel you were always in with a chance after that?
Yeah, it was good play by Ashkan, and then Burba, he finished it well. And then they scored 1-1 and had a few chances, but we did well, and then we scored it 2-1, and I think we deserved to win the game.
I suppose it just shows, doesn't it, you are going to get fluctuating performances over the festive period, because West Brom just didn't get going in that first half tonight.
They didn't, but the difference for me between the two teams is Berbatov. You know, languid style he's got, lethargicness, but again, he was, for me, terrific. He's why Fulham will stay up and won't get dragged into a relegation battle.
I wonder whether West Brom felt the expectation from their fans, and it's no criticism of the fans, it's quite right, that the fans will turn up at the Hawthorns New Year's Day, Fulham at home, only one win in 12 for Fulham, West Brom in a European place. They will be expecting their side to win. I wonder whether the players feel that.
Well, I think they definitely do. What West Brom were 33 points from 21 games. They're lying 7th and are booed off the pitch at half-time because they're 1 down. They've had a fantastic run together. But they come back in second half and they have a go. But I think Berbatov was the difference. I think Robbie's absolutely right. And what a difference 3 points make. It's such a boost. Whereas Villa do so well, only get 1 point. And they still need, I think, 19 points. But Fulham, now, those extra 2 points gives a great boost.
The tea time game is Southampton against Arsenal. You can hear that in full on 5 Live. Maybe a different Southampton that Arsenal will encounter this afternoon to the one they thrashed at the Emirates earlier on in the season.
Well, I think Southampton at home, you know, they've took, you know, Man United to the wire. They scored. What Southampton can do at home? They can score goals. I think in Ricky Lambert, you know, they've got a goal scorer. The performance at Stoke, you know, a couple of days ago, 3-3, they were so unlucky, defended at times
season, wasn't he?
Poorly.
Punching.
Yeah, and Punching's decent. So I think Arsenal will win, though, Chappers. I think in Walcott down the middle for me, that's his position. He looks great down that.
Southampton go into this game in the bottom 3, though, so it will be a big afternoon, big tea time, I suppose, for Southampton at home to Arsenal. That's it for us on Final Score this afternoon. We'll be back on Saturday for FA Cup 3rd round day, so join us for all the shocks then. Thank you to Garth and Robbie. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.